There's a version of New Jersey that exists in a tax bracket you couldn't possibly fathom. A version where high school education is a line item on a financial planning document. We're talking about wealthy parents who looked at the entire concept of public education, thought about it for maybe 4 seconds and said, no, we'll be doing something else. Today, we're covering the 10 most expensive high schools in New Jersey. And if your first reaction is that can't possibly be real, you're not wrong, but it is. Coming in to start us off is Saddle River Day School in Bergen County at $54,000 a year for grades 9 through 11 and $55,000 for senior year specifically, because apparently they charge you extra to almost be done. That's right, they have a tuition step up for 12th grade. You've already paid for 3 years of private high school, you're 1 year away from finishing, and the school goes, great, that'll be an additional $1,000. It's a seniority tax on your own child. This is Bergen County, which should contextualize everything. Northern Bergen County is the zip code equivalent of a restaurant that doesn't put prices on the menu and expects you to be fine with that. The grocery store parking lot has more Range Rovers than most dealerships. Saddle River itself is one of the wealthiest towns in the entire state, which means this school isn't competing with public schools. It's competing with the neighborhood, and it is keeping up. On top of the $55,000 tuition, there is a mandatory technology fee and a mandatory meal program, itemized separately. Because they couldn't just bundle it in and let you live your life. They need you to feel each charge individually, like a spa menu where everything is optional and nothing is cheap. The school doesn't publish a lot about endowments or financial aid, which in private school culture is essentially a personality trait. If you have to ask what the endowment is, you've already revealed too much about yourself. Next up is Montclair Kimberley Academy at $55,000 for grades 9 through 12. And here's how they sell it. That price includes basically everything. Laptops for every student starting in 4th grade, trips, experiences, all wrapped into the headline number, which sounds like a deal until you remember the headline number is $55,650. And describing that as a deal is something that only happens inside private school admissions offices and hostage negotiations. What MKA is actually doing, whether they'd admit it or not, is making comparison shopping difficult. When every other school on this list starts itemizing technology fees and matriculation charges and meal programs and 3 other costs you didn't know existed until the invoice arrived, MKA just says it's all in there. That's not generosity, but rather a pricing strategy, and honestly, respectable. Montclair as a town has its own thing going on. It's progressive, artsy, diverse in a way that wealthy suburbs like to perform. The kind of place where you can get great coffee, argue about local politics, and spend $56,000 a year on your kid's education all in the same afternoon and feel completely fine about all 3. Now we're headed to Gill St. Bernard School in Peapack Gladstone, Somerset County at $56,000 for upper school. Peapack Gladstone. Say that out loud. Peapack Gladstone. The town is literally named like it's got its own trust fund. This is horse country. This is the part of New Jersey that has absolutely nothing to do with the turnpike, the shore, or anything the rest of the world thinks of when they think of this state. The closest thing to a bodega out here is probably a farm stand that sells artisanal jam and doesn't have prices listed anywhere. Gill St. Bernard's has about 561 students, a 7-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, and has quietly sat at the top of the New Jersey private school market for years without making a lot of noise about it, which is the whole Somerset County vibe. You don't announce wealth here. You just exist in it and let the zip code do the work. The school separately itemizes books, academic supplies, matriculation fees for new students, and international student fees, all stacked on top of the $56,000 tuition, which means $56,000 is the floor, not the ceiling. The ceiling is somewhere the admissions brochure politely declines to go. The next school on our tour is Kent Place School in Summit, Union County at $56,000 for grades 9 through 12. And Kent Place is an all-girls school, so it is not just expensive, it is exclusive in two directions simultaneously. Summit is a Union County town with a train station that functions more as a status symbol than a transit option. Real estate listings describe the houses as having gracious proportions, which is the real estate equivalent of calling someone well-dressed when you mean rich. The downtown looks like a movie set for a film about people who have figured out their lives. Kent Place has over 660 students and a 7-to-1 faculty ratio. The school runs structured ethics and leadership programming and has built a clear identity around developing confident, independent young women who will, statistically speaking, out-earn the people making fun of their tuition bill right now. Which tracks, because at $56,000 a year, this is not a casual decision. The families sending their daughters here are not doing this on a whim. This is a deliberate investment in a very specific network, and that network does not need to be explained to you because by the time your kid is in it, you already know. Now we head to the Pennington School in Mercer County. Day tuition is $55,000, and if you want your kid to actually live there, boarding costs an additional $27,000 on top of that, not instead of it, in addition to it, bringing the boarding total to roughly $84,000 a year once you add the activity fee. That structure is worth sitting with for a second. Most boarding schools give you one big number. Here's what the whole thing costs. Done. Pennington says, here's what school costs, and then separately, here's what sleeping here costs, because those are two different products and they are charging you for both of them. It's transparent, it's honest, and it means your boarding bill is essentially a day school tuition with a hotel on top. The school has 635 total students, a 6-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, and an average class size of 13. 13. You cannot coast in a class of 13. There is no row in the back. There is no strategically placed tall kid between you and the teacher. Everyone is visible at all times. Pennington offers structured certificate programs in applied science, covering computer science, innovation, and engineering, plus a global studies certificate track alongside the AP curriculum. The campus has a makerspace, a renovated aquatic center, a black box theater, and an art gallery. 31% of students receive financial assistance, which is actually meaningful at this price point. Here we have the Dwight-Englewood School in Bergen County at $64,000 for grades 6 through 12. We have now cleared $60,000 for a day school, no boarding, just showing up. Here's what $64,000 includes at Dwight-Englewood: tuition, lunch, school trips, tuition insurance, a technology fee, supplemental student accident insurance, and Parents Association dues. It is all bundled in. They have taken the everything included model and then pushed the number considerably further than anyone else on this list who tried the same thing. The school reports $6.2 million in need-based grants and explicitly describes additional support for aid recipients to offset transportation, textbooks, and technology. That's a thoughtful disclosure. It's also a disclosure that lands very differently depending on which side of it you're on. For $64,000 a year, average class size is around 16. Classes rarely exceed 18. That's their number. Rarely exceeds 18. At $64,000 a year, rarely exceeds 18 should be engraved somewhere. Bergen County, once again, not a coincidence. It is a county that has decided it will simply continue to be unbelievably wealthy and let everyone else deal with it. Now we enter a different conversation with Blair Academy in Warren County at $81,000 a year for boarding. And the school is clear that additional on-campus spending for things like textbooks and supplies get charged separately to a student ID. So realistically, you're looking at north of $82,000 as a floor. Blair has 473 students. The student-to-faculty ratio is 5-to-1. That is the best ratio on this entire list. 5 students per faculty member. You are not disappearing at Blair. You are being personally accounted for at all times. Now, here's what separates Blair from almost every other school on this list. They just tell you everything. Endowment, $172 million right there on the facts page. 37% of students receive financial aid. Total scholarship grants, $9 million annually. They publish separate average awards for day and boarding students. In an industry where schools treat their financial data the way organized crime treats their books, Blair just posts it on the website. The facilities are specific in a way that tells you exactly where the money went. A crew training center completed in 2021 with an 8-seat rowing tank. A center for health and well-being that broke ground in April 2024. International squash courts, a golf training center, a rowing lake, a winter sports complex, a rowing lake. At a high school in Warren County, New Jersey. There is a lake at this school specifically for rowing, not for general enjoyment, not for fishing, for rowing. The Chiang El-Ghanian Center for Innovation and Collaboration supports electives including film production, architecture, robotics, digital music, and visual arts. This is not a school that put one 3D printer in a closet and called it an innovation center. There is a plan here, and the plan costs $82,000 a year. Up next is the Peddie School in Hightstown, Mercer County at $78,000 for boarding and $68,000 for day school. That day tuition is worth its own sentence. $68,000 to not even sleep there. You drive in, you attend school, you drive home, and the bill is $68,000. That is a commitment to a commute that most people would quit a job over. Peddie has 527 students, a 6-to-1 student-to-faculty ratio, and an average class size of 12. The endowment is $459 million, which is not a typo. Peddie describes it in their own school profile as among the largest boarding school endowments anywhere, and they are correct. $459 million for a school with 527 students. That is roughly $870,000 of endowment per student. That number doesn't mean each student gets that money, obviously, but it means the school is operating with a level of financial security that most institutions could not even dream of. That endowment explains all of the capital projects. An arts center expansion in 2022 that includes Ding Music Hall, a $7.4 million fitness center renovation featuring golf simulators, an ER room, and multi-purpose wellness spaces. Golf simulators at a high school in a renovated fitness center that cost $7.4 million. This is not a joke. This is just what Peddie is. Peddie also has a signature experience program, structured independent explorations in art, creative writing, languages, computer science, and research science that gets formally noted on student transcripts to differentiate Peddie graduates during college applications. Because at $78,000 a year, the diploma alone should not have to do all the work. 37% of students receive financial aid, backed by a major historic gift that helped endow substantial assistance. $459 million. Golf simulators. Peddie is doing just fine. Here we have the Hun School of Princeton at $83,000 a year. Day tuition comes in at $57,000. The school is in Princeton, not Princeton adjacent, not near Princeton, in Princeton, the most legitimately prestigious town name in the entire state, and the Hun School has been sitting inside it for over a century. Total enrollment is 703 students across grades 6 through 12 and postgraduate. The school uses the Harkness method as a core pedagogical approach, a discussion-based seminar-style format where students sit around a table and have to actually engage with the material and each other in real time. No hiding, drifting, or quietly not doing the reading. You are at the table and people are going to notice. The school also runs Next Term, an experiential mini semester featuring travel courses and off-campus learning. And there is an interdisciplinary scholars program with a senior capstone project that earns an honors distinction on graduation, which shows up on transcripts and in college applications. The fees stack at Hun. International students pay additional fees for both new and returning years. Their academic learning skills program is extra. The $83,000 base is the floor for boarders, and the floor has several staircases above it depending on which programs your student needs. The school runs a Centennial Speaker Series, bringing prominent public figures and artists to campus, and markets mentorship structures built around one-on-one faculty collaboration. At $83,000 a year, one-on-one mentorship almost isn't really even a selling point. It's almost a baseline expectation. And finally, to round out our tour, we have the Lawrenceville School in Mercer County. Boarding tuition is $82,000, described by the school as comprehensive and inclusive of most fees. Once you add the published estimates for books and supplies, you're looking at roughly $84,000 a year. International students can go ahead and add health insurance to that. Day tuition at Lawrenceville is $68,000, which for the record is more than the median household income in the United States. This is just to attend during the day. $68,000 to show up and go home. Lawrenceville has 802 students. It is globally known for its discussion-centered, seminar-based instruction model. The house-based residential structure, where students live in smaller campus houses that function as their primary community, is intentional design at a level most colleges don't even think about. This is not a dormitory. It is an engineered social and academic environment built around the idea that where you live shapes how you learn. The Gruss Center for Art and Design has been profiled as a shift from traditional fine arts into a broader creative hub spanning painting to digital fabrication to robotics. In mid-2024, the school unveiled Phase 2 of the Tsai Fieldhouse, a major campus expansion covering dining, wellness, and recreation under one roof. 34% of students receive financial aid. The school publishes typical aid package figures broken out by day versus boarding, which is transparent in a way the price tag otherwise is not. Lawrenceville is a member of the 10 Schools Admissions Organization, a consortium of elite boarding schools that functions less like an academic association and more like a mutual acknowledgement that these institutions exist in a tier entirely separate from everything else, which at $84,000 a year is simply accurate. And that's the list. The 10 most expensive high schools in New Jersey, running from $54,000 at the entry point to $84,000 for the full residential experience at the top.